From the post-millennial, DNC taps staffers behind misleading KamalaHQ account to combat misinformation. Oh,
Thank
boy.
goodness.
They will, quote, combat online misinformation and respond to the Trump administration actions by pushing out memes, videos, and graphics. In other words, they will lie.
Yes.
Yep.
They will lie. And what's interesting, too, is remember how with KamalaHQ, immediately there was a KamalaHQ Lies X account that popped up?
Yes.
So there's a Fact Post L's account that has already popped up to debunk all of the nonsense that this Fact Post account publishes. So, yeah, I think that's pretty interesting. It also, one thing is that if the DNC is hiring Kamala's Gen Z X
Losers.
staffers, they really haven't learned anything from this election at all. They're just going to keep going on and doing the exact same stupid nonsense that they were doing before. Lying, taking things out of context, misquoting, false allegations.
So I think this is an
and
interesting
that's what the
question,
DNC is going to do. And the DNC doesn't even have a head yet, but they're going to come in with this cohort ready to go and perpetrate
So based off just even some of the
misinformation.
confirmation hearings over the last few days, I think it's an interesting question. Democrats do seem to be in disarray. Obviously, they're not bringing their A game. At what point do we think they will ever come to the conclusion the path we are going down and we have gone down is a destructive one to our party and for us achieving political power again? We might want to rejigger this whole thing and maybe not continue, or are they just going to simply double down?
Well, I guess it
Because
depends
their
on who
mind
they
is
pick
so
for
broken.
the DNC chair and maybe which way they go, right? Because they have two directions they could go in. They could go hard progressive left
I think they will go that way.
and like, boost AOC and Rashida Tlaib and whoever else didn't get voted out from that whole squad. Or they could go the more moderate approach and say, well, of course, we do need to have more border control and we do need this and that. We do need to reduce, sterilizing our children, and we do need to promote families. So they have a choice to make, and they haven't decided what choice they're going to make yet. They don't know
What's
what
your
they're
bet?
going to do. What's my bet?
Yeah.
I think if they have no sense, then they'll go progressive. They'll go even harder progressive.
I don't know if they have the ability to because I think the woke mind virus has broken their brains.
I don't think they have anything else because if you look at it, the establishment ones, they're
What do you
older than
think?
Joe Biden.
I think people view the world and humans as this group that shifts around, watches the news, changes their minds. The reality is
They're fundamentalists.
people's minds are developed in youth and largely solidify. The reason the Democrats began embracing wokeness is because younger left-leaning individuals started aligning with Democrats. Thus, the Democratic Party officially adopted the DSA as a component of the Democratic Party. The DNC cannot moderate because young woke people genuinely believe in their crackpot cult. They're not going to wake up from it. This is their whole worldview.
They're fundamentalists in their views.
Yes, and what's going to happen is people like Pelosi and Schumer, who have entertained it for power, they still moderate it to a certain degree despite entertaining it. That's weakness. When they pass on, the younger people who move into the Democratic Party are going to be full on woke, and it will be that much worse.
I agree. I don't think they have. I think the trends have been put in place. I don't think there is a way for them to stop these trends until this next generation that is completely embraced this fundamentalist woke mind virus passes away, and that's not for a long time.
Gen X is the reason Trump won. Boomers still are leaning a little bit conservative, silent generation as well. But once we lose the older generation, I don't see how we get another populist right president.
So I'd bring up an interesting point.
And TikTok.
I think the 2028 elections are far more important than people understand because of what happens in the 2030 census.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you hold on to power in 2028, and by that I mean America First Republicans, and it might be J.D. Vance, it might be somebody else, you hold on to power then, the 2030 census and the shift from these blue states into the Sun Belt and other key states down south, I think all of a sudden it becomes a decade of power.
Take a look at this from Civics. Here's the Donald Trump favorability as of today. 53% unfavorable. 18 to 34, 61% unfavorable. 35 to 49, 56 unfavorable. 50 to 64, 51% favorable. 65 plus, 50% favorable. This is not, there is not going to be a great awakening of the reason why generations skew one direction. It goes more and more liberal as time goes on. It's because the younger generations are exposed to liberal ideology.
Indoctrination centers.
When they turn 30, they're going to hold those same views. So when 18 to 34 becomes 34 to 49, then what you're going to see the 35 to 49 bracket have a 61% unfavorable rating for Donald Trump. As the older generation passes on, this country is going to go woke. And we're only lucky right now that Gen X, which was the largest bracket supporting Donald Trump, came out and voted for him, and the Republicans. Without Gen X, that's it. Now, the other issue is when boomers go, and they do support Trump a little bit, it's going to be much more difficult for Gen X to maintain this. And Gen Z is leftist. This is why I say TikTok is so dangerous, but it's not just TikTok. Our own companies do the same thing, pushing this crackpot ideology. And I believe largely that either this country is sick to the core or Democrats are intentionally burning the country down.
Well,
Both.
I mean, yeah, I've said
Perhaps.
this a boatload of times. Like, a happy population doesn't engage in revolutionary activities. So if you've got people that are ideologically bent on creating like the perfected society or having a revolution in the US, you want unhappy Americans. You want people that are disaffected. You want people that are not pleased with the way that their lives and the country is going, so that way they will engage in revolutionary activities. You don't get happy people that have kids and have happy families and stuff. They don't want to engage in revolutionary activities because they're like, man, my life's good.
So a couple things. I mean, kind of what Tim was saying, like the numbers look pretty grim moving forward. I think that should actually inspire those of us that are involved in politics in a day-to-day basis. We better figure out how we actually get the numbers in our favor before 2028 in regards to voter reg, AB Gen, all these things in key battleground states to hold on to power in 2028. And then I think census numbers give us another 10 years. But then that leads to the next point. At some point, and J.D. Vance has talked about this, I endorse it. We should talk about the endowments for these indoctrination centers.
Yep.
Yep.
And let's have a conversation about what you're actually doing in bringing these younger generations and indoctrinating them in destructive ideas that are going to ruin this country in the future and actually allow China and other countries to dominate us.
The Communist Control Act was a thing for a little while. It's no longer a law, but I think that they should revisit the idea. I mean, there's nothing wrong, in my opinion, there's nothing wrong with saying we need education to uplift our way of life, and we should reject people coming into our country that want to subvert it.
Yep.
There's nothing, there should be nothing objectionable or even particularly odd about that sentiment. If we as a nation want to survive and we like our way of life, we should have schools teach that the United States is a good place, not that the United States is a bad place. We should have and if we're going to allow immigration at all, we should only allow immigrants in if they believe
the country.
Exactly. If they believe in the ideology and they want to become Americans, they have to want to assimilate. You can't bring the old country's ways with you. I'm sorry. If you want the old country's ways, go to the old country. Right. But you're not making our country like the old country.
Kind of goes back to what I was saying
the
earlier.
idea. Yeah, go ahead. No, that was the idea originally. It was like, you could bring your food and bring your fashion and some of that stuff, but like basically you have to become an American. Assimilation was a huge deal.
You have to buy into the ethos.
Right.
We're not an economic zone. We're not some random spot in the world. There's a very specific and unique culture and way of life and how we approach things.
Yeah.
Constitution, our government, all of these things. And I think immigration policy should reflect that. I mean, again, it goes back to the conversation earlier in which they're trying to destroy this country via immigration policy because they hate it.
Yep.
Our immigration policy should actually be implemented. Going back to the H-1B, does this actually promote the interests of our culture and society? All immigration and visa policy should actually be pointed in that direction. It goes back to what is the moral imperative of every national leader? It's to promote the interests of the nation and its nation's people.
And if you don't want to promote, like if you don't want
what is best for them?
Yeah, if you don't want if you're not like, I mean, if you're not America first, why are you even running for a position in government?
Yeah.
There are people who have this fractured view of the world. They're not smart people. They don't read. They get their information from songs, and not good ones at that. And so their reason for joining government, some of these people, it's the only way to get their name in the history books. For others, they're literally trying to burn it to the ground. It's remarkable to me that there are people who are raised in this country who hate it. That's particularly rare for a lot of the other developed nations, that you have this massive, I mean...
It's true in the UK.
That people hate the UK?
Yeah.
To be fair, like the UK is in serious trouble.
Oh, it's
Serious.
But I mean, like...
Because of
let
immigration
me rephrase,
policy.
I suppose. There's
Not
been an
just.
increase in the
Well, I know,
West
it's more than that, but
of
still.
younger generations who despise their own countries.
Right. Yeah, I mean, part of that is that we have eradicated the reason that the countries are good in the first place. We've taken away the moral values. We've taken away, civic society. We've taken away civility. We've taken away all of the things that, as you were saying, would make you govern yourself and feel good about who you are. We've destroyed meaning. We've said meaning is irrelevant. And then you have people going in search of what,
We settle for your truth, my truth.
yeah, people
and
go
annihilate the
look
idea
for
of objective truth.
witchcraft, to try and be part of that. People are desperate to be part of something, and so they're searching for meaning and something to make them feel valid in the world. And if that's the road you're on, if you're staring into the void looking for anything to grab onto before you fall into the black hole of nothingness,
Nihilistic.
you're going to grab whatever it is that shows up your way. It's like, it's like the girl with daddy issues, the first guy at the bar, she goes home with him.
Goodbye. It is now time to say goodbye.
Merrick Garland saying goodbye.
That's nice.
Oh, thank God.
I don't mind that.
That weasel.
I'm glad he wasn't a Supreme Court justice.
Yeah, thank
know.
God.
Wow.
Like
I know.
I remember when that was going on, and I was like, Mitch McConnell's being a real stick in the mud. It's like 9 months left, and it's like, no, that was a good job. Good
Mitch
job,
McConnell.
Mitch McConnell.
Listen,
that was like the
one of the only good
thing
things
you
he's
did.
done.
Everybody can complain all they want about Turtle Man, but he saved America from Merrick Garland,
McTurtle.
Sitting on the
he
Supreme
saved
Court.
America. Like all of the good things that the Supreme Court has done in the past. I don't know however long it was, since 2012 or 11 or whatever when he was. All that good stuff probably wouldn't happen
Did you
without
guys-
Mitch McConnell.
Did you guys watch some of the confirmation hearing for Pam Bondi?
Yeah.
Which I can't remember which senator or
I
Democrat,
can't
of
believe
course.
she's 59.
I know.
Can't either.
She looks good.
Yeah.
She
She's like
does.
43.
Yeah.
The question being, well, how can we be sure that you're not going to weaponize the DOJ against
And she's
political?
like you did. And she was like, wait, you just did that?
Are you? That's a serious question.
Yeah.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.